Good afternoon and welcome to the Mike Scully Show. I am back in studio with my guys, and I am so happy today. We have gone back to the hills of West Virginia and brought him back. Mr. Sean O'Rourke, what do you say, Shawnee?
I'm doing great, Mr. Scully. I appreciate to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to sit around and chop it up with you guys.
All right, Mr. Scully, I love it.
Good God.
And the Hebrew Hammer in his Super Bowl week as being a diehard Eagles fan. What do you say, Elliot? Good to see you, brother.
It's good to be on the right side of the dirt.
And as always, I've got my day one ride or die, my man from Lower Alabama, USA. What do you say, Trickster?
I'm living the dream. Tip top. Everything's good. South Alabama put up some points last night. I thought they forgot how to do that. Had a nice win. Scored over a little 80 points, which is a little magic number, if you know what I mean.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, what do you think, boys? It's Super Bowl week.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
What? Yeah, come on.
I tell you, it's got a weird feel to it, though, this week for whatever. I mean, obviously the my football background and golf background, you got the People's Open, which we'll get into in the second segment. Waste Management's going on day one today. But I haven't seen, it just doesn't seem like the coverage for whatever reason hasn't been, up to snuff.
Well, I think number 47 has filled the news with a few items. And that may be taken over the headlines quite a little bit.
Well, in talking about the Super Bowl, it's pretty cool he's going.
Yeah.
I mean, first ever
Sitting president that's gone to the game.
ever to go to a game.
Yeah.
So what's the over-under? How many times they're going to flash him? Is it more than Taylor Swift? Do we know?
Way under.
That's a great prop bet.
Under for the number of visuals, but I'd give you 2.5.
I like it. Okay. I think that'll definitely be an over.
Does the crowd chant USA?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yes, 100%.
The amount of dollars it takes to get into this game, it fits his demographic.
It fits his demographic well.
100%.
Well, they talked. I actually saw an aerial photograph of all the things he's obviously got going on in the news right now. But somebody put out on X today, they're going to have the Gaza Dunes because there's some beautiful seaside property that people that develop Bandon Dunes are going to go and develop 6 golf courses in the Gaza Strip, which was pretty funny.
I saw the name Magaza. Maga.
Yeah. Maga. Yeah. Magaza.
Well, we'll get back to football. I'm glad to see he's going to the game. So the over-under prop bets, we'll have Taylor Swift and Trumpster. Chiefs bringing the referees with them.
Oh, come on. No. Look, I think it's a whole lot to do about nothing. It gives them something to talk about. Oh, that was funny. My man's shirt is in the Chiefs. That's good. No, I think, listen, as a former ref, not anywhere near that level by any means, but you don't care who wins the game, man. You're just watching your pond to make sure if you see something, you throw the flag. The favorite part about that is the Me Too flag. When someone throws it and all of a sudden you see 2 more come in. It's, me too. I saw it too. Me too. But it's, that's horrible. But
it's also, you have to realize that this is the Super Bowl for these guys as well. They're getting rated throughout the season. They're getting rated throughout the playoffs.
This is the top
This
crew.
is the top of the top
Right.
of the top.
Right.
So they've been recognized for their performance throughout the year.
I mean, that's all good points, but did you guys watch the Bills Mafia video that they put out? It's pretty compelling. It's about 4 minutes, and it was more about where they were spotting the ball. And they were doing live clips of where they were going out of bounds in particular, and they were getting shorted a yard or two, not just a couple of times, a lot during that game. And I think that's where a lot of this came in, where people are starting to question what's going on with the refs. And
well, to go back to the AFC Championship game, and we didn't talk about it last week because we weren't in studio, the one mistake that coach made was on third down because they got a really bad spot on third down, which was a first down.
with Allen running the ball.
The ball, and he didn't challenge it, and then they get stopped on fourth down. He had the first down on third down.
Yeah.
It was a terrible spot, one of the worst spots, and then the fourth down spot wasn't really that good either.
Well, but going back to what we said a moment ago, where if the NFL, the officers of the NFL are recognizing that balls being spotted improperly, lines aren't being set up correctly, flags are being thrown improperly, there's no chance those guys are now calling the Super Bowl. Right.
You would like to think that the best of the best are there, and based on their ratings, they're supposed to be. But I think you were even telling me there's a rule that says you can't have the same team more than 3 times a year.
Correct.
So with that being the case, does that also include postseason time? Or because if you're the best, whether you've had them 3 or 4 times in the year already, including playoffs, you would think you're still going to be there. And it is all based off a rating system.
Well, I was going to say, but in your ratings and your evaluations, when you got evaluated, it was post game.
100% every time.
So
and usually it was 2 days later because to the Bills Mafia point, I promise you, Kansas City could go through and see, oh, here was a hold here that wasn't called. Oh, look, this guy lined up off sides. I guarantee you it may not be as many, to your point, Sean, as the Bills Mafia showed out, but I assure you there was probably at least 5 different times that Kansas City could show out that the Bills got a break.
But I'll also be sorry, Sean, go ahead.
No, but and I got a question for you, Mike. What's interesting to me, and I'd listen to hear your guys' opinion as well. Being from a tennis background, and I don't know if I'm right on this or not, but do they have the technology where they have the chips in the football? It's more about marking where the ball was in this game, and we've seen a lot of that during the playoffs. Tennis has it for years where you got guys that are hitting 80-mile-an-hour forehands and 125 plus serves, but they have the technology to see if it hit in or not, if it hit the line, if it was past the line. How does the NFL, which is the biggest sports organization,
they've been testing it. They're potentially rolling it out next year, likely to be rolled out the following
year. But they don't have it in play yet.
Because I've learned of that too, Sean. How easy to put a chip in the middle on both ends of the football, and if it crosses, that chip breaks a certain plane, it goes off. So you're in. Period.
Yeah. I mean,
then you got to look and see if the knee was down.
What makes tennis different is you don't have an obstructed view from cameras.
Right.
Where with football, you do have the obstructed view from whether it's being tackled on or holding it inside your arm or different things like that. So it is coming. The technologies, they've been testing it out to know it. But I'll be the contrarian on this one for a minute because I just said, hey, trust the referees, everything else. There's a reason why it's called the Jordan rules. There's a reason why they recognize the best athletes. They do protect the best of the best.
The tuck rule for Brady.
Well, the tuck rule is a legit rule. That wasn't because of Brady. That was a legit rule.
Mm-hmm.
But he was protected by it. He got the call.
But one of the things that everybody's complaining about is Mahomes, when he's sliding, they're throwing these personal fouls where if another player is sliding, are they still going to throw the same personal foul?
Right.
I think there is somewhat of a protection for the best athletes and the best players and the face of the league. No doubt. Is it enough that it's going to swing the game? That I don't think so. But
well, I will say this to the point where last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl, in my opinion, Philly got absolutely hosed on a call at the very end of the game with pass interference or something. I was sitting next to you.
To quote 47, correct.
Yes. And it wasn't called, and they took it on the chin. You didn't hear any complaint. I mean, obviously there was a little complaint about it, but after the game, it wasn't, well, this one call cost us. Philly, I thought they were upstanding. The only thing I'll ever say about Philadelphia,
only thing worth
being upstanding, yes, was that they didn't complain or bitch about it.
Well, 2 things. The Jordan rules, being a Chicago guy, those are earned because his first 4 or 5 years in the league,
got killed by Detroit,
crushed. I mean, the bad boys beat the shit out of the poor guy, and finally he got to that point. And I'll go back.
Is that the last time he's ever been called poor?
I believe the statistic is that Michael Jordan has not made less than $64 million a year from Nike since 1994.
That doesn't suck.
So you're over you're 31 years running.
That's a pretty penny.
His net worth is north of $2 billion now.
I think so.
Somewhere in that road. But funny story about spots. My oldest boy Peyton, one of his buddies from high school's first job out of college, working for Fox, he was the guy doing the graphics for the yellow line.
Okay.
For spotting the football for first downs, and he'd come over to the house and, God, damn, you screwed that one up. You cost Peyton's dad a couple $100 on that one. And actually, Hogan, I don't want to even say this because NFL rules, but
right.
His father got hosed a couple times and was not happy. This is long before the boys were in the league. So,
right.
But yeah, so we had some fun with that. All right, so the Chiefs offense, Patrick Mahomes they're trying to break a record that has never, actually not break a record, set a record.
Set the record.
For the first time ever winning 3. You've had the Cowboys, the Niners, the Steelers. I believe the Dolphins had a chance to do it.
Patriots have done it a couple times.
The Chiefs had a chance to do it in the first couple of Super Bowls and didn't get there. Do they get it done? Or is Philly's defense the one thing that's going to stop them? You know, let's say the front 7 from the University of Georgia that Philly has playing
for the 3 previous championships.
A couple of issues they say a couple of Eagles defensive linemen, including Jalen Carter, ate something a little funky down in New Orleans that are not feeling great right now. A couple of their cornerbacks got dinged up in the NFC Championship game. So, now you've had 2 weeks to recover. But again, injuries play a factor in this. I think if they are full go and everybody's healthy, which I think it's leaning towards that, I think this defense could cause a lot of problems for them.
What's going on with the food in New Orleans? Because I saw Taylor Lewan and Will Compton from Bussin' with the Boys.
Right.
Portnoy walked in with a video camera posting on social media that they were taking IVs. I thought of your brother.
Yeah.
Because they had some bad oysters.
Let's
And
not
we're
kid
sick.
ourselves. It's not the food. It's,
Well, that's
it's
what-
it's the
yes.
copious amounts of alcohol.
It's
that
the
are
hurricanes.
Well, that's what Portnoy was saying.
Yeah.
You're trying to blame it on
It's
food,
the
but they were
hurricane.
saying it was
It's
some
that
bad
darn
oysters.
hot dog. Jim Brewer.
Yeah.
The hot dog. That's something you need to pull up and watch. Jim Brewer.
Alcohol.
Alcohol, explaining the
How the
difference between
stomach's a party.
alcohol. But he's telling the story. He walks into this bathroom. This guy's hurling. He looks up at him and smiles like, man, it must have been that hot dog from earlier. It is hilarious. He's like, man, it wasn't the hot dog.
So who we'll go to picks later. Halftime show. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
I'm ready to eat during it.
Yes.
That'll be the break.
Has this been this is the least amount of buzz that I've heard from anybody about a halftime show in easily a decade, where a lot of people, especially the wives, the girlfriends, the
Right.
kids, they're
That's
like,
what they
I can't
watch.
wait for halftime. I can't wait for halftime. And nobody seems to care.
Right.
Um,
Who was singing the national anthem?
John Baptiste,
John Baptiste.
who's from New Orleans, multi-time Grammy Award winner. Again, couldn't tell you anything that he sings or does, but at least it's a local flair kind of thing.
Grammy.
Who do you
God.
rank one or two? Do you rank Whitney Houston or Chris Stapleton?
Whitney.
Whitney.
It's not even close.
Because it not only is her voice incredible, but you think in the middle of the Gulf War,
Right.
and the patriotism that, for the first time, everybody's happy
100%.
admitting that they were Americans, where today, how many people are proud to say they're American? I know we around this table are,
Yes.
plenty of other people that are out there protesting America
Bye,
with
Felicia.
foreign flags, but don't want to go back to
Hey,
those foreign countries.
Well, bye.
Yeah.
Is what I got to say to them.
And I just hope that sitting in the booth with him on Sunday, right next to him, is Elon Musk.
Oh, I hope so too.
I just because you'll watch the rest of the world absolutely go berserk.
They'll melt. But yeah, the Grammys. How does Beyonce get a Grammy for the country album? I think is what it was.
They had the Grammys.
Yeah.
Yeah, this week.
Well, and the reason why I know about it, that's a fair statement. But the reason why I know about it is because the country world is in uproar that she got the Grammy over.
Well, Casey Musgraves, did you see her face?
No.
She
Yeah.
was up.
Again, the Grammys happened.
She had a sour face on her.
She was up, and
Well, she should've.
everybody's cheering, and you
There you
watch.
go,
They
there
guys
you go.
see if they show Casey Musgraves. She was not happy.
Come on. The only song I know on her album is the remake of Dolly Parton's Jolene. That's it. And somehow, for the love of Pete.
Well, they had to give her a Grammy before her husband goes to jail from the Diddy parties.
Well, true story.
All right, we get back on the one thing I wanted to close before we close the first segment, and you guys make your picks for the Super Bowl. Have you seen Dave Portnoy? He's made some unbelievable decisions in his life with his business, buying Barstool back
Right.
for $1 because of Penn with ESPN. But I believe his best hire all time is Chucky, John Gruden.
Without a question.
Have you
Without a
watched the
question.
content these guys have put out?
I could watch him all day long. I could watch Coach all day long. He is.
Is it his face
He's-
or what he says? That's what I want to know.
He told a story about Sebastian Janikowski. Was it when they drafted him in the first round, and they go down to play in New Orleans, and at that time he had missed like 5 kicks in a row, and he missed bed check. So he's like, "This son."
He
of
was a Polish partier.
He goes, "This son of a bitch, he can't make a kick and he can't make bed check." So what do? We get in the Superdome. We're playing the Saints, and I got a 56-yard field goal, and I go, "Field goal, run him out there." And the special teams coach comes up screaming at him, "He can't kick. He's drunk." And he goes, "I don't give a damn. Kick the damn ball." And he goes, "What's the son of a bitch do?" He drills it right down, the middle. And I go out to the hash to meet him. Great kick.
Yeah.
So he was just priceless. But then the one burn, and my little shot why I'm going to tell you the story because he knows where I'm going. He walks in the suite in New Orleans this week, and he's all proud as a peacock because he thought he bought Dave something he couldn't have. He thought he bought Dave Caitlin Clark's high school jersey.
Bought the wrong number.
All right. So it was the high school, but it was number 22. It was a fake jersey. So he's all excited. He's posting that he's got the jersey. And next thing you know, he gets a text message from Caitlin Clark. Sorry, Dave, but I wore number 11 in high school. He goes, oh, you got burned. You got burned bad.
I know this isn't really what we need to go down that rabbit hole, but if you think of the talent he has brought in, he had McAfee before he was big. He had Alex Cooper of Call Her Daddy before she was big. He's brought in a ton of people that have then left and gone on to the guys from Bussin' with the Boys are leaving Barstool because they got another monster offer. He is an eye for talent. If you could get in the Barstool pipeline, you get on that ride.
You're set.
And you are strapped to a rocket.
Well, Dave, I'm a huge fan of what you do.
Yes, absolutely.
I love you. I support
555-1212.
Yeah.
and I will even walk Miss Peaches for you. So
Love the pizza.
All right. Well, we'll come back in the second segment, get into the rest of the sports world, and then we'll save your Super Bowl picks for the end of the show. But thank you for watching the Mike Scully Show. We'll be right back after this break. Well, welcome back to the Mike Scully Show. I'd be remiss. I forgot to do it before we went to break. I need to thank our good friend Bob Hamer at Coastal Title. Bobby's going to yell at me and probably hit something at me on the golf course. But
And Ruda.
I'm playing with him on Saturday.
I know.
So,
Are you his partner?
Bobby, you'd better loosen up and get me some skins, buddy.
Okay.
Good
Bobby,
luck.
We love you and thank you for your support, big fella. Gentlemen, we'll before we get into Elliot's ballywick of college basketball in this segment, we have the Waste Management Open going on out in Phoenix. Now, my years I lived out in Scottsdale, working at the great club Desert Mountain, we used to take the kids. A part of our Super Bowl deal was I'd take the boys down in the morning, watch the front nine, then we'd go home in the afternoon, watch the golf finish, then lead into the Super Bowl. And there was a lot of times when we were out there, I think
That
3
doesn't
times
suck.
that they had the Super Bowl actually in Phoenix while we lived there, which was kind of cool. We went to the Pro Bowl one year. The boys have had some fun, some Final Fours, but that is an event unlike anything I've ever seen. I've been part of Ryder Cups, PGA Championships, but the Thunderbirds and Waste Management, the company, the corporation, what they do, it is off the charts, fun, and they've created something that's unique. And I think it's changed golf. I think Liv has copied a lot of what they do at Waste.
It's the Happy Gilmore of golf.
True.
That's what it is. It's a Happy Gilmore of golf.
Yeah.
And that course is incredible. And I've played it a couple of times, and you can see where the stadiums were. And it's a gorgeous course, but it is Happy Gilmore of golf. They finally got it right, and it's a good time. I mean, that one green alone is just crazy. But
has it jumped the shark though? Like it started as this great party, and has it just gone to this extreme of too much?
That's a good point, because last year it did, but I think that was primarily because of the delay. Not necessarily because of the party itself, but when you have a 4 to 5 hour delay, I mean, there were people sitting on stools, passed out, peeing on themselves, just dripping, that they had to quit serving beer or alcohol because everyone was so out of control.
Well, Scottsdale normally doesn't get the amount of rainfall that they had last year, which was
global warming.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you can blame that.
Climate change. I got the thing wrong.
Which created big problems for everybody.
Now, I know none of us are shy about picking up a bar tab or two, but can you imagine what you're paying for that at an event?
No.
For an extra 5 hours of drinking on top of your normal 8 hours of being there all day?
Right.
Well, but think about this. I know it's spread out over 18 holes, but they've got it consolidated really into about 7 holes. That,
it's on the back 9, right?
Yeah, it's, 16, 17, 18 are now pretty much all enclosed. To have 200,000 people on the golf course and in those hospitality tents.
It's crazy.
You go to a Super Bowl in that stadium, depending on which stadium they're going to play this weekend in the Superdome. What are they going to have? 75,000 people. Maybe
the Masters has 65. Yeah. For a round, and that's it.
Well, we had 60 at Medina when we were supposed to have 40, but we had 60. The gates somehow kept, PGA of America.
Imagine that.
But it just felt compact, and we didn't have nearly the hospitality tents that they put together there that the Thunderbirds do. Thunderbirds do. It's just incredible. One funny story: we moved there from Chicago, 2013, and it was going to be our first Waste Management Open. We were excited. I had tickets, and we're sitting in one of my favorite watering holes out there in Scottsdale, cold beers and cheeseburgers. And Jack at the time, he was 5 or 6, and this is when I knocked down the 7 1-pound patties in 14 minutes.
That a boy.
Yeah, but our waitress, very attractive young lady, and my wife at the time, she goes, Are you going to Waste Management? She goes, oh yeah, I go every night. Now I'm sitting there, and it's our first time out
every night.
I go every night because the events that they have in the bird's nest or the crow's nest,
Oh yeah.
are insane. I mean, this week I think Blake Shelton was out there. I mean, the talent they have. Jelly Roll is there. I think Saturday night's the only time that they actually went. I think they went with a rap, but most of the time it's country music.
Sure.
But it's just incredible what they do. The amount of money they raise.
Well, and you're not wrong. I mean, this past week I was lucky enough to go to the LPGA Tournament of Champions.
Oh, up in Orlando.
It was fantastic. I mean, good buddy of mine took good care of me. Love you, Carl. You're the best. We had Sweet 18 tickets for all the golf. They bring celebrities to this, which makes it even better. It's really cool. But at night, to your point of your wife, we had Luke Bryant was Saturday night. 3 Doors Down was Thursday, and Tuesday was Chicago. I mean, it was just a great party, a great time. Everyone there was friendly. It was a great time. But the event at night seemed to be more of an attraction than the golf that day. Now, Sunday was incredible because it was close between a couple of ladies out there. But the night event overshadowed the first 3 days.
Did you see
golf.
my favorite player, Charlie Hull?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, I love that girl.
Although Cheyenne Knight, she's my girl. I like that. I like me some Cheyenne, only because she's from Texas, but went to the University of Alabama. So we're walking around and she's coming off.
Roll Tide.
Well, almost. So I stayed there with Carl and she's coming off and she just made birdie. I go, hi, Todd. Hi, Todd. And she turns and she looks, she laughs. She's like, that's funny. We're like, hit him well, girl. And it was just a good vibe.
awesome.
It was awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me
Daddy
tell you.
like you.
Yeah, she is. And she's a really good golfer too.
Well, Scully, our good friend, Georgie Boy McNeil, who is probably one of the most laid back guys I've ever met in my life, said the only time he's ever gotten nervous in his life was walking through that tunnel out to 16.
Go to 16?
Yeah. He said it's nothing you will ever experience as a golfer. He wouldn't.
You don't hit it inside 15
You
feet.
get
They're
booed.
booing you.
Yeah, they're booing you. They're booing you. But, I have a question for you because you got some unique insight that a lot of people don't have. What is the PGA Tour's view on this tournament? Are they for what it's bringing to the game of golf, or did last year kind of, put a black eye on it?
Are they fighting Happy Gilmore, or are they going with it?
No, well, they've invested the money in it now because they've made it one of the major stops, not the majors, but one of the key events to play. So you're getting a great field. Last year was an aberration.
I don't miss this tournament.
I mean, I think
I'll watch this tournament every year.
I think next to the Masters, this has to be, if you polled people, which tournament would you want to go to? This would probably finish second to the Masters.
100%.
I'd say top 3 because it'd probably get Ryder Cup would figure in. But definitely,
Well,
it is definitely
Open
one of
too,
with the
U.S.
four,
Open, TPC,
the 4 majors. I mean, it's definitely top 6.
100%.
It's probably, let's put it this way, it's probably the most watched non-major event on the PGA Tour.
It's got to be up there with Panavidra's TPC.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah, right there, which is
players.
they call the 5th major.
Right.
But,
so you think they're all in at this point?
Oh, I think so too. And the great thing is that with all the goofiness that goes on and all the fun stuff they do, a lot of times some really great golf is played, and that golf course sets up to have excitement.
Oh, yeah.
Make a birdie on 16, 17's drivable, or you can hit it in the water and make a double.
Correct.
18, they've lengthened enough. They found a little bit of room in that back corner there that they've made it exciting. But it's got the birdie eagle ability to really, you could light up the back nine and make a comeback. I mean, it's great. Ricky Fowler won there a few years ago.
18's a hard left, right?
It's a slight dog leg left back to the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Very slight. It's a great hole.
Well, for people that drive it as far as I do, it was straight and then turn.
But you got to hit over. They got a row of church pew bunkers reminiscent of what you see at Oakmont.
Okay.
Similar that the guys they can now fly.
Okay.
Before it was you try to hug that left side, but these guys hit it so darn far that they fly it over it. But no, they just do a phenomenal job. What you want to do if you're not going to the tournament, we'll end on the Waste Management.
Gamble on it.
Well, that's good too. But You want to be an Uber or a Lyft driver this week in Phoenix because you're getting quadruple rates. It's like when the Super Bowl's in town. You can go drive somebody 3 miles and you're getting $1,000 driving Uber.
Wow.
And didn't they have the Super Bowl there last year at the same time?
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy.
That's happened a bunch of times.
I don't understand that. You would think as a city you'd want to offset them, do one week and do one the other week.
Well, you may want that as a city, but the NFL doesn't care about the Waste Management Open, and the Waste Management Open doesn't care when the Super Bowl is.
Agree, but I think you could get more bang for your buck if you had them on separate weeks. Is all I'm saying.
You certainly could, but are you going to turn down an opportunity to have the Super Bowl?
Of course not. No, I'm just saying in an ideal world.
Well, you look at what we'll go back to the professional NFL for a second and marrying those two together. Will the PGA Tour go along with what the NFL is going to do? Because Goodell's going to go to the 18-2, 18 regular season games, 2 preseason games, and they're going to end on President's Day weekend, so you have the Monday off after the Super Bowl. That's not this week. That's the following week.
Correct. So then it's brilliant, in my opinion.
But will the PGA Tour schedule adjust? Because right now you are now finishing. They go to Riviera after this, and then it's back east because the West Coast swing will be over, and it becomes to Florida, and it's the lead up to the Masters.
Right.
Yeah, they play the Honda, the TPC, all that. Whole,
Innisbrook.
Yeah.
And get ready for that beautiful shiny beacon on the hill known as Augusta National.
Yes.
And there's no place like
other.
it. Exactly. And that is so true.
No doubt.
But all right, let's I'm going to make you smile, Elliot. College basketball. It's our first time on the show. We've touched a little bit at times, but give us the preview. Where do you think we are right now? Will the boys down on the plains pull it off? Bruce Pearl and his Auburn Tigers?
I think the SEC tournament is going to be better than the NCAA tournament this year. The SEC, I wrote down a couple of statistics. SEC ACC challenge earlier this year, 14-2.
And
SEC
oddly
dominated.
enough, who were the 2 losses? Do you know?
Well, I think it was Carolina and Duke. I think were the 2 that won it.
They were, and you know who they played. I mean, who were the 2 losses for the SEC? Because the SEC swept them everywhere else. It was 14-2, and the 2 losses were Auburn
and Tennessee.
No, and Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
Those were the 2 that lost, and Auburn is ranked number 1 in the country right now.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I didn't mean
and Alabama's right behind. I mean,
right.
So through most of the season, it has been
the
SEC has had 5 of the top 10, 9 of the top 25. I mean, we need to talk loaded. So now they're beating each other up in conference. And you saw what's happening now. Tennessee, when they were number 1, went to Florida and lost by 30. One of the worst losses by a number 1 team.
Florida's got some really good guard play.
Florida goes back to Tennessee this week. Tennessee, missing their top 2 players, takes Florida to the woodshed and beats them by 20.
44 points. Why is that number important? Because that's all Florida scored in the entire game when they averaged 80. 80 a game. They scored 44. I don't care how good a defense you have. You just had an off day and bad defense. They were 2 for, I think, 28 from the 3. I don't even know that's possible. I think I could do granny shots and make more than 2 out of 28 times.
Tennessee had a chip on their shoulder.
Yes, they did.
And they came out and put it to them. Prior to starting conference play, the winning percentage of the SEC teams, 88.9%.
Right.
I'd like to call that 89.
Only one team out of the 16 had more than 2 losses.
Yeah, I was listening.
South Carolina with 3. This conference is loaded.
Loaded.
There are no off nights. There are no cupcakes. The conference tournament is going to be so phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because anybody can win. It's who's going to be. Because now, remember, you're now playing this on over 4 days or maybe 5 consecutive days. Where the NCAA tournament, you're doing this over 3 weeks. You're going to be, if you are a higher seed, you're going to get a 15 seed, a 16 seed. You're going to get somebody else.
So with that, because I know they're going to your point, in the tournament, kill each other. 2 number 1 seeds?
Right now, it's 3. Right now,
so Duke's the only one that's up there then?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean everything.
It could change tomorrow.
6 weeks to play. You got so much.
You don't think Houston's in the conversation?
In the conversation, absolutely.
Well, but they're Big 12. We're just talking SEC right now.
But here's the thing. Houston has 4 losses, and they're ranked ahead of Florida, who their losses are Missouri by 1, which was awful, but Kentucky, they put up 100 and lost to 106, and Tennessee.
Well, but
those are their 3 losses.
But what you're doing in the rankings is measuring how you're playing right now.
Agreed.
Seeding in the NCAA tournament is really look at your total body of work. And one of the changes that the NCAA tournament committee made probably about 5 or 6 years ago was they stopped looking at how are you playing in your last 10 games, which I think should be a very relevant factor.
I think it is
how
very
you
relevant,
did
yes.
in your in November and in these preseason tournaments has no relevance necessarily how you're playing now, or if you had an injury early on, if you played well, or you got somebody back. If I'm a Rutgers guy, we're going to talk about them in a minute, but they've been missing 2 of their best players throughout a large chunk of the season. If they all of a sudden get these guys healthy and start catching fire, would you then consider them later on? But now you can't even do that. So to me,
agreed.
It's what the seed. I don't care where you're ranked today, because that changes how you play in week to week. Whereas overall for the season, when you come to tournament time,
Who's the best player right now?
Janai Broom, a guy from Auburn. Which interesting to say that he is the best player because he has been dominant. But he sprained his ankle and was out
Pretty
5 or
bad.
6 games. It was a very bad ankle sprain. Came back last week. But they've been rolling people without him, but they're just even better with him. 18-point double, averaging a double-double, just absolutely unstoppable.
And Florida gets to play another number 1 team
Tomorrow.
Saturday.
Yeah,
Saturday.
That's what I meant for
what about the flag kid from Duke?
Another, just the freshmen this year are tremendous. Really, Cooper Flagg is a legit pro, can handle the ball. And that's the thing that is different from when we were growing up and generations growing up. You see these guys that are 6'10", 6'11", 6'9", that can handle the ball like a guard. Cooper Flagg brings the ball up, no problem. Maryland's got a kid, Derek Queen, who's 6'11", can bring the ball up by himself, can take you off the dribble. It's not like, okay, get in the post or even just big guys shooting. It's these guys can dribble the ball and have handle. You see that with Victor Wembanyama in the pros and things like that. Cooper Flagg is, very, very tough player to stop. But the ACC is having a very down year. So is he getting these battles every single week? You look at Florida's got 3 great big guys.
Yeah,
that you
6'10"
could just
or bigger.
that you could just throw at these guys.
And
nonstop.
that's not the 7'10" guy that's on the bench.
Right.
Yeah.
So, to see what Duke is going to do in the tournament. The other thing, he's mobile. So normally you'd think, all right, you got a big guy, you're going to get a mismatch against a small school team that doesn't have anybody bigger than 6'6". They're going to spread him out and play around the 3-point line. Flagg can guard you anywhere.
Who's the kid from UConn, the freshman that's unreal too?
McNeely, he's another one that's been out with an injury.
Right.
And UConn is still rolling. I mean, they played horrible.
Finally.
They finished dead last out in the Maui Invitational.
Yep. Yes, they
and
did.
Now
they lost every game.
And now they come back and they're dominating people without him playing.
Well, the coach is good there, whether you like him or not. You can't fault the coach.
Good is an understatement. Back-to-back national championships and has them reloaded all over again.
Well, Elliot, what are you looking for in teams right now? I always look NCAA tournament. I always look for senior guard play because that when you get in these tight games, because you're going to get into tight games once the tournament starts. You were talking about Duke. Don't they have the Proctor kid? He's pretty hell of a good player too.
Yeah, I think part of what you look, and especially with the transfer portal, it's hard to say because the term senior anymore. You'd think 4 years under the same coach, that doesn't really happen anymore.
Right.
So who's got tournament experience? Who's might not have been at your school, but had multiple years in the NCAA tournament, able to shoot your free throws, able to handle the ball, good coaching experience, but somebody that is a veteran that if the calls are going against you, if the refs are against you, somebody gets into foul trouble, who's going to be that guy that's going to be able to keep that team together and keep you focused?
So, I mean, we're a couple weeks out. Who are some long shots that you got? Obviously we know Auburn's good and Alabama's good, and Florida's good, and Houston's good. Who do you see it's like, kind of floating out there? I know somebody mentioned Rutgers earlier. They put on a hell of a show the other night.
Did they beat Illinois last night? Number 23 Illinois? I don't really know. Did they? Oh, yep. I think they did.
Big tree fall hard.
And St. John's put on, that was the best defensive sequence I've seen in a long time the other night.
So
I'm not in the near tailspin that Mr. Delicious is in.
Well, we mentioned Marquette and Mr. Delicious over the last couple of podcasts, and we're all big Marquette fans. We've all gone up to see the games, and Marquette has been down 6 of their last 8 games at the half. And Sean, please share us with your.
That's my cheat code. That's my NCAA cheat code. I always, not that we gamble here, Not that the Duke of Duke music's coming on, but we do the against Marquette in the first half, and we bet them in the second half.
Bet on second half.
But we don't tell Mr. Delicious that.
No. Well, and by the way, I got to mention this. I go out one night with Mr. Delicious, and I'm out for the next 2 or 3 days minimum. You guys spent an entire weekend.
It's good times.
I'm
good
impressed
times.
that you guys are even still vertical at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Notice nobody sees me during the week. We go into hibernation after this. But to the Marquette St. John's game this week, the Garden was rocking like it has not been since the days of Louis Carnesecca.
Again, look at the coach.
Patino, he's 150 years old, but my man can
Skeletor can get out there.
done.
And then earlier in the year, he yelled at him, like, I don't even know how to coach these guys. I don't even want to coach these guys. These guys are awful. They don't listen. They don't do anything I tell them to do. I don't even know what they're doing.
And I'll tell you, the best thing that I think that he has done, aside from being a phenomenal coach, he got the alums from St. John's to pony up the money. They got a kid, Kadari Richmond, who came in from Seton Hall, who was just dominating for them. And when you have that NIL money, the ability to spend that money is really impressive.
Who's doing the best coaching job so far this year?
I got to say, Dusty May from Michigan. He was FAU's coach that took them to the Final Four.
Yep.
He's in his first year, brought Vlad Golden in with him from the big man from FAU. They brought another transfer.
They got 3, don't they? They're an interesting team.
They've got a couple of big white guys that are 6'11" or better that are playing out of their minds.
Oh, they have 3 7-footers. We saw them here at FSW.
The Thanksgiving event.
There is not one moment on that during the entire game. There's not at least one 7-footer on the floor for Michigan. Usually there's 2 and sometimes 3, but there's always one.
You know, you figure you get a brand new coach coming in. He's teaching a new system. Some guys may they had a bunch of guys transfer. Yep. Remember, this is a school that had Hunter Dickinson, who's now at Kansas, playing for them, who was a top
Kansas. Woo. They are in a world of hurt.
But I think Michigan has been playing phenomenally. Michigan State has been playing tremendously.
Again, coach, Izzo, come on. You show me a team that's doing well, and I'll show you a good coach.
But that's part of it. So when I'm thinking of come NCAA tournament time, when we start seeing brackets come out or we start getting closer, really understanding where each team is, I'm looking at coaches and who do I think can do it?
Yes.
I think Bruce Pearl's always been great, but NATO at Alabama, having just made a Final Four, and they are a scary,
it
scary
just depends on seeding and where you're going.
But it's gonna be a tremendous tournament, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been staying up watching a lot of West Coast basketball, but they've been playing some good ball out.
But
out
again,
West.
when you think of West Coast basketball, Sean, what is the first team that comes to mind for West Coast basketball?
Well, I mean, I think first in anyone's mind is Gonzaga.
Right. And how are they doing this year?
Hell, we beat them.
Well, but part of
exactly West Virginia laid the wood.
But the West Coast Conference is probably going to get 4 schools in the tournament.
Gosh,
right? The teams like St. Mary's
is always good.
Oregon State, who is now playing in the West Coast Conference this year, they've beaten a lot of teams. You're starting to see that these teams. It used to be there was one. All these other schools have realized we got to put resources into it. We got to be able to start. We're getting eyeballs on it.
Well, especially the ones that don't have football. Those schools, like Marquette's one of them, they really have to step up and put that money in there, or they're not going to have any type of athletic department at all. They're just not.
Yeah, and they're developing teams, and you're going to see upsets happen every year,
of course,
no matter how good somebody is. But I think the basketball this year for NCAA tournament is going to be tremendous.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many SEC teams get in? Are we still holding firm at 14?
I don't know. I don't think you'll get 14. I mean, LSU is falling off the face of the earth. They're atrocious. The
Georgia's not
put
good.
A whooping on them.
Georgia's good.
Georgia's in. They're probably an 8-9 seed right now.
You think so?
9 or 10 seed. They're playing real well. They got a big kid, Asa Newell. I think that's how you pronounce his name. 6'11" kid out of Florida that went there. Mike White, Florida's old coach, coaching at Georgia.
Couldn't handle the pressure.
You're going to see. I think they're legit. Right now, I think you'll probably see 12 SEC
That's what I was
teams
thinking.
in. But again, there's a lot of time to go.
Sure.
You never know where who's going to fall off and who's going to do.
Well,
what are we? Are we a month away? Or are we
about 6 weeks? 6 weeks. But the thing is, now that to your point, you're in the SEC play. They've already come, and I know it doesn't matter, and they don't look at it, but you have to look at it when you go 14-2 against the ACC. They're going to devour each other, so are those losses as bad?
Well, and that's where we said
they're quad 1 wins, though.
Correct,
right?
And that's so to go back to Rutgers. Rutgers going into last night's game was 11-11 and 4-7 in conference, I think, and then their win last night against a ranked team. They've got runway to, because almost every game is a quad one win the rest of the way. So another 15 of the 16 teams were in the top 75 of the net prior to going into conference play for the SEC, which means literally just about every single game is a quad one win, which also means other schools can't get as many quad one opportunities and wins.
Correct.
Right.
So if you get 4 or 5 quad one wins, even though you may have 10 or 12 quad one losses,
the wins way more.
It's not going to matter nearly as much.
Well, there you have it, America. You have seen my man's Ballywick. He is the basketball aficionado. When we come back to wrap up this Mike Scully show, we're going to have the gentlemen make their Super Bowl picks and give final thoughts. Please follow, like, and subscribe to everything we do on our social media, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all those fun things. And again, thanks to our man, Bobby Hamer, and his beautiful wife, Rudy, at Coastal Title. And we'll be back after this. Thank you. Well, welcome back to the Mike Scully Show. Gentlemen, as we wrap up this beautiful Thursday of Super Bowl week, doing our version of Radio Row, we're going to give you your chance to make your pick for the winner of the game, and I'm going to start with my man from the West Virginia Hills, and then we'll finish with Trick making his power picks and give us a few little teasers. What do you think there, Hillbilly?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been looking at this game, and Elliot's obviously a fan, and I think you might even play into some of this logic too. Mike, I think what a lot of people didn't realize is Jason Kelce was calling the coverages and the checkdowns for Jalen Hurts up until his retirement last year. And if you look at Philly's progression this year, they struggled a little bit earlier in the year because Jalen was now responsible for that. He was responsible for calling all those protections and things like that. And you've seen the projection, how they've gotten better and better as years gone on. And I read an article the other day that he's the one that called out of that play that Saquon Barkley broke the long run on the first play. And that should tell you something about where his progression's gotten. The Kansas City Chiefs are currently giving up 6.3 yards per carry in the playoffs. They were only giving up 3.7 during the regular season. We've already talked about Philly's defense. It's really hard to go against the Kansas City Chiefs, but I will take the number 1 D. I will take the best running back. I think if Jalen doesn't turn it over, and Patrick Mahomes never turns it over in the playoffs. You can get 1 turnover from the Chiefs. I'm going to take 1.5. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles.
You're scaring me because you're silently and being nice. You're ripping on my center from the Eagles, saying that kid doesn't know how to make the calls. You got to check to the mic, find the mic linebacker, and you shift your protection to the mic.
Well, I'm going to not be totally correct on that.
You got served.
I think what I at least what I read or what I was reading into is that Kelce. I mean, obviously he's he's going to be possibly a Hall of Famer, but he's definitely one of the all-time best. He was doing all that, and I'm not saying a young kid can't.
I think he is now.
Yeah,
but he's also surrounded by some pretty good players too. Lane Johnson and Malata. I mean,
Who do you think's got who?
I think Philly wins.
Who do you think's got the best line?
I believe the Eagles have the best line
versus the Kansas City D line.
Yes,
and the Kansas City offensive line. I don't know how.
I think Philly has the best.
Philly's
D-line.
got the best D line. I mean, so I mean that's where I'm going with. That's just my logic. It's really hard to pick against Kansas City Chiefs. They're on a roll. They're getting all the calls. But logic tells me, I'll take the points. I'll take 1.5.
Okay.
When you look at Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, and what he's done in the draft over the last few years, every pick in the first 3 rounds, they have nailed for the last 3 picks or last 3 drafts.
Well, he's just going down to Georgia getting everybody.
Doesn't matter. And anybody can do that.
A lot of them fell to him because of trouble.
Hey, fall to him, draft Georgia. Don't matter.
Got him.
You got him.
Yeah.
Right? How many other teams have failed on draft pick? They've hit every single one that every one of these guys are serious players. When they played Kansas City 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, the defense was old. They have completely revamped it and all fresh, brand new secondary, a lot of guys up front. I think Nakobe Dean's injury at middle linebacker could hurt them, even though Baum has been playing phenomenal, and is a Pro Bowler this year.
He's an all-pro.
An all-pro. I mean, these guys are playing phenomenally. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying. As a Philly fan, I'm wearing my vet shirt, Pride Pretzels in prison.
The worst stadium.
Give it up to Judge Seamus, who was regulating there.
Don't show that shirt to Wendell Davis.
Hey,
the great LSU
something about
receiver.
your mayor you wanted to bring up?
Huh?
Something about the mayor?
We'll get there with the pick time.
Okay.
He's going to have final thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think 34-23, and as the mayor of Philly loved to say, ELGSES. Eagles.
Elliot.
Look at the people in the background. They're like, what did she just say?
How you are the mayor of the city. This is not, this is 6 letters.
It had to be written down in front of her, and she still messed it up.
Elliot, when you got hillbilly folks that can spell better than that,
yeah,
you got problems.
We got big problems.
You got big problems.
Not good.
All right, Trickster. I advertised you last week on a little short that you were at 63.2% for the year.
That is correct.
And you can make a living being at 63.2%.
So a little nugget before we get into the meat, if you will, a little appetizer. Because the line's not out yet that I've found, if for the Florida Auburn game, the total for the game is 162 or less, take the over. And if Florida is 81 or less, take the over team total for Florida.
Okay.
Because with Florida scoring horribly against last Saturday, they put 86 up on whoever they play, Vanderbilt at home, which isn't saying much. But Auburn loves to run. They love to run. They don't wait. The only time, one of the lowest scoring games was against Tennessee, which again, one of Florida's lowest games was against Tennessee. It's just their defense and how they play ball. It's the most boring thing in the world, but a W is a W, so God love them. Bet the over because they are going to run out of that gym. Now, with that said, so if I understand you boys correctly, we have 3 Philly picks. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Philly's got a better running back, have a better line, better secondary, better defensive line, better linebackers, better offensive line, better wide receivers. And defense wins championships. We've heard that since we've been knee-high to a grasshopper.
Since you came out of the womb.
That's correct. However, there is one man on this planet that is not better on Philly's side than on Kansas City's side, and that would be Mr. Mahomes is far and away better than I like to run and hand the ball off Jalen Hurts. Do not bet against Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid because the two cerebral parts of that equation of who's better and who's not, Kansas City wins in a landslide. To quote Fleetwood Mac, it's not even close on intelligence and ability at the head coach, even though he can't manage a clock, he can manage a game, and the quarterback play of Patrick Mahomes. You do not bet against Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He's going to make Kelsey look good so he can show off for his girl, so he can then propose to her at the end. It'll be a big hoot nanny, if you will. Kansas City Chiefs takes it home and bet the over just because.
You said in a landslide?
A landslide in the difference between the head coach and the quarterback.
I was just checking because I didn't.
No, let me be very clear. It will be a close game. And Philly, they're a great team. We all just sat here and said how they win top to bottom on every line you can find, with the exception of, in my opinion, the cerebral parts, which is the head coach and the quarterback.
Well, you're picking,
and it's a landslide difference between those two.
You're picking the Marquette of the NFL. They win, but they don't cover.
Your words, not mine.
Not to worry,
telling
Mr.
you,
Delicious doesn't listen to the show.
This is fair. I like Kansas City simply because of Mahomes and Reed. I agree. The Eagles outclass them everywhere else, but it won't matter.
Scully, you're taking the Eagles? You got a breakdown on this?
After listening to Patrick, I may have talked myself into going with the Chiefs because he's right. The one thing that kid doesn't do is lose.
Correct.
I mean, he's now second in the league's history for the most playoff wins, and he's only played 7 seasons. And Tom Brady played 22 seasons. So he'll get him eventually.
And not for anything, but he's a Trump supporter. Man, you can't let the president down.
No, and he'll be there. And the greatest thing is, I'm a huge Chiefs fan. Even though I love the logo, you have the greatest logo in sports history on
The
your chest today.
Redskins.
But I'd love to see him put him on the Mount Rushmore. I'd love to see somebody win 3 in a row. And it'll drive people crazy, which I'll get even more excitement on. So
I concur.
I'm changing mine. I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Woo-hoo.
So we'll go 2-2. We'll see how we do next week.
We got a little Duke going here.
Hey, a little Duke. I'll go Duke and Duke
I would
with
wager
you.
$1.
$1.
$1. All right, give me your final thoughts there, Mr. Hillbilly.
My final thoughts?
Yes.
I'm going to be interested to see. It's great that our president's going to be attending this Super Bowl, and we haven't really talked about politics today. But one thing that dawned on me today: the change that's going on in this country to have 2 national anthems is an absolute disgrace by the NFL. Absolute disgrace. And I'll be real interested to see what Trump does, what his reaction is. I think he's been much milder going into this second term than he has. But, it's just the way things are going in the country. I just don't understand where the NFL is going with this. And that's a problem that I got. There's only one national anthem for all of us. We're all one country. We're all one people. And that should be it. This divisive stuff really needs to stop. And, that's one of my final thoughts. But I also want to congratulate our leader here. For those of you that don't know, Mike is going to be on the Trey Radel Show tomorrow on 92.5 here locally, if you're going to be in Southwest Florida. So if you're around, please tune in. I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure that I support my man and, drive at 5 tomorrow.
Thank you, brother. Get to spend some time with Mr. Radel. We're going to have I got a few Trump stories I can tell him, which we're going to have some fun with.
Nice.
Some good stuff. We'll get through the wokeness. All right, Hammer. Hammer down.
So wearing my Veteran Stadium shirt, many good memories there. I mean, not that I didn't have to worry about the field turf or how terrible it was there, but my favorite vet experience, and I got to tell a story because it leads right into what this city will be like this week. Elliot. Grew up, family's from Toronto, grew up, I'm a Canadian citizen, also an American citizen, but dad still got his green card after being in the U.S. almost 50 years. Blue Jays playing the Phillies 1993, Game 4 of the World Series, 15-14 game. Ricky Henderson leads off the game with a double. I'm in the 700 section, the top section of the stadium, straightaway center field, 4 rows from the top of the stadium. Ricky Henderson leads off the game with a double. Me and my brother stand up, clap, wearing Blue Jays jerseys, Canadian flag. Now, I'm a high school senior. Now I weigh 190 pounds, and I outweigh my brothers by 30 to 40 pounds. Then I wasn't this weight, and I still outweighed them by 30 to 40 pounds. We are not a big family, okay? And we're clapping, and yeah, it's great. And the Blue Jays score a couple runs, and these drunk guys are like, "You kids, shut the bleep up. You guys clap one more time, we're throwing you off the stadium." It's 14-8, and the Blue Jays come up with this massive comeback and win, and we're sitting there like, we want to clap, but we don't want to die. And we're like, what do we do? We're walking out of that stadium, we're like, oh, God, please don't murder us, don't murder us. I can only imagine if the Eagles win, how big of the lunatics are going to be out on Broad Street and that parade.
Are they going to have to grease down the light poles?
Yeah. They did that for the NFC Championship game, and a kid climbed it and fell off and died.
Oh, God.
Like, come on, guys.
I didn't know that. Seriously?
What's the over-under of how many cars are going to be on fire? 2.5?
Well, way over. There's 2.5. There's 2.5 cars on fire right now. So these people are going to lose their minds, and I hope they do. I hope they enjoy it. As crazy as all those fans are, they are just so passionate. Now, their passion's a little misguided, but they're passionate. So, hoping for an Eagles win. Hoping all my friends up there be safe, have a good time, and enjoy it.
Awesome. All right, my brother. What sands the paper this week?
Well, I have a couple of things for you, Scully. I'm glad you asked. One happened on the way here. It's real quick. If someone holds the door open for you and they're being kind, it doesn't take much effort. Kind of like the grocery cart. It doesn't take much effort to return it. That is the definition of a piece of shit or someone that's solid. You either return it, because no one ever judges it or sees it. You either return it and you're solid, or you leave it right by the car and you're not. If someone holds the door open for you and you don't say thank you, you are a POS, in my opinion. To the point where I made sure I told them, you're welcome, after it was 2 ladies that were going into the bar. But what truly sands my paper, and that I've seen of late, that it just blows my mind, I guess, more than anything else. If we have people in our country that need help financially, that need help, all kinds of mental health, all kinds of ways. And it usually takes money to feed them, to shelter them, to give them the mental health they need. If we are wasting money in other places on doing stupid things, which I think 90% of the world, especially Americans, would agree is stupid, to have a comic book out of Peru and spend $47,000 on it for DEI, I think most of us would agree that's dumb. Why are certain groups of people complaining about finding government waste so we can then use that money to help our own people? I don't understand it. It is mind-boggling to me. And for the record, the person doing it was appointed. He wasn't elected. No one has said he's elected. He was elected by the president. And then the president makes the decision after he finds out what's going on with something.
Mm-hmm.
They need to shut the hell up and realize it's for the good of the country this is happening. It's not like, hey, man, if you find something, you get to keep it. That's not what's happening. What's happening is we're finding waste, controlling the waste, and spending it on ourselves. So that's what sands my paper, all these morons that are complaining about finding waste. How stupid are you?
Harumph.
MORONS. Moron.
Well, we know you're better than those. Mayor of
So
Philadelphia.
you can run for the mayor for Philly now.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for today. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to leave you with one thing. Being a father, being a girl dad, I am so proud of my president and the bill he signed in yesterday, keeping
Here.
boys
Totally
out of
agree.
girls' sports. 47, you're killing it. Just keep it going and keep doing what you promised us you'd do. And we love you for it. We'll be back next week with a little Super Bowl recap. Then we'll start to lean into college basketball, into the Masters.
Spring training.
On behalf of my boys here, thanks for watching the Mike Scully Show, and we'll see you next week. Have a great night. Thank you.